welcome to the Festival of Storytellers. I thank everybody that's involved with this process because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers.
Experience is not about the publisher, it is about us, the authors.
Good afternoon and hello again. I am Marianne Chimera and I have written the book that I want you to read, which is called Take Charge of Your Career. It has a lot of new stuff in it. It's the only book that I'm aware of that actually takes you all the way through the job search process. You notice that my last name is pronounced Chimera. It's from the same language as Chianti, and so it's pronounced with a K instead of a ch sound. Today, I'd like to talk to you about resumes. What is a resume? And do you really need one? As a resume reviewer, I have a collection of resumes that other people have written, and a lot of them are very good, but some of them are really loose. A resume is, so let's talk about what a resume is not. A resume is not your life history. It's not even your work history. There are people who feel that they have to include everything they ever did, and that makes for length, and it also makes for a lack of focus. It's not a list of your former employees. I've had people give me resumes that were lists of their employees that gives absolutely no information at all to the employer that would be useful to them. And it's not about your interests or your achievements. And it's not a list of your vital statistics. In fact, you want to keep things like sex and age and stuff like that. You want to keep that stuff out of your resume because it's a basis for discrimination against you. Employers aren't allowed to ask you those questions. So there's no point in giving them the information for free. So what is a resume then? Basically, it's a sales document. Its purpose is to put an idea in your prospective employer's head that you are the ideal candidate for a job he has in mind and that he wants to talk to you. A resume is successful if it gets you an interview. It's up to you after that to get the job if you want it. As we've had the standard resume, it doesn't do the job all by itself. The standard resume is essentially a fact sheet. It tells about your past. It tells about what you've done in the past, which should be relevant to what the job you're looking at, and also what your education, stuff like that, what you know how to do. The a resume is the first and perhaps the only impression you're going to make on an employer. And so it's important that your resume is well done. You can make an impression as someone who is organized and informed, or you can make an impression as someone who's careless and doesn't care much. It's a sample of your qualifications and experience. For employers, a resume is a removal tool. It's a rejection tool. Say an employer has a few jobs to put out, and he does his usual thing, and he gets maybe 500 resumes. Is he going to interview 500 people? Probably not. So he has to cut that down. So what is usually done, either by the employer himself or by somebody in the personnel department, if the company is big enough to have a personnel department, and they go through the resumes and read them and grade them, and they throw out the ones that they consider irrelevant. So you want your resume to be in the relevant pile. They might select the top 10, top 20, depending on how many jobs they're talking about or how important this job is. And then they'll, if it's a personnel department, they'll take the first 10 or the first 5 and contact those people for an interview. The rest they'll hold on reserve. So that after they've interviewed the first 5, they have not found the person for the job, then they'll send out invitations to the next 5. In this process, is the best opportunity they have for discrimination, because no one can hold them to discrimination when nothing is said about why they did not call you for an interview. Throughout the process of my book, I talk to you about the employer's viewpoint, and this is one example of how the employer uses your resume. I have an entire chapter devoted to how an employer searches for an employee when he has a job open. I don't know of any other book that discusses that. The odd thing is that he starts where he starts, most people don't go. And the last place he goes is where most people start looking for a job. And that a whole lot of people stop there and don't seek out any other uh, paths to finding a job. The last thing is that a resume is a tool for planning your job search. You start out by defining what job you're searching for. Now that may be the kind of job you've been doing for however long, or it might be something entirely new. Maybe you're ready for a change. So the first thing you're going to do is define what you're looking for. And then as you go through the steps that are outlined in the book, you see what you have to present to the employers. And you will figure out from that which employers you will approach and how you will approach them. My clients have told me that their interview with me prepared them for the eventual interview with the employer. I was asking them basically about what job they were searching and what their qualifications for it were. And that is the main topic of what you'll be talking to about employers. So you can just relax so that because as you prepare for writing your resume, that's precisely what you'll be thinking of. Okay. The book is still in process of being published, and it will be out probably by the end of the month, I think, maybe shortly after the end of February, that is. And it will be available at Reader's Magnet or Barnes and Noble. And you'll be able to buy it there. Oh dear. I'll have to put on my glasses too and look. Ethan is asking, so what are the essential details that should be included in one's resume, especially if one is applying for the job the first time? Well, that is discussed in my book. And the first time, you'll probably be talking about a lot about your schooling, what is relevant in your schooling to the job, which is probably the only time that you'll be talking about this. It would include such things as your activities and whatever experience that you may have or any special training that you have. Bruce wants to know, how do I make a great resume for job hunting? Well, there again, we're talking about the high impact resume which I am presenting in this book for the first time. And this high impact resume includes why you are special, why your qualifications should be considered over all your competition. You actually lay out what those qualifications are, which is not done in the standard resume. Wayne wants to, I see, so that the job history is not part of the resume. I'm sorry to have misled you there. A job history is part of the resume, but you want to use those parts of your job that are relevant to the job you're looking for. Some people start with the very first job they had when they got out of college and then list every job since then, and maybe some of those things aren't so relevant. How can you make a resume if you're a fresh graduate? The same way you make a resume if you're an experienced, long-time experienced worker. You review what your qualifications are, you review your history, and you pick out those things that are in your history that are relevant to the job. Again, this is spelled out in greater detail in the book, in Take Charge of Your Career. How could an employee create a map to a successful career path? Now, that's beyond the discussion of the book, but basically, you want to get yourself in a place where you do have a successful career path. And that means that you want to get a job that meets your objectives as well as the employer's objectives. A lot of people consider how they fit the employer's requirements, but they don't consider how the employer fits their requirements. And that's one of the things you want to think about as you prepare your resume. I believe there's a difference between a job and a career. Can you please help us identify one from the other and how to pursue a life-fulfilling career? One of the things I've found in my own background is that my career processed from the job, because I got into a job that taught me new things and that gave me a different background than I had previously. And so it's hard to project at 20, 22, 20, 25, where you'll be when you're 50. So because so many things come up. Does your book contain some templates and guided questions on what to put in a resume? It does describe what to put in a resume. Templates, not exactly, but it does give you several examples of resumes and also cover letters. This actually is a very relevant session. I need to update my resume. I hope you do. You might want to also consider your cover letter. Probably the most frequent question I got when I was writing resumes is, do I need a cover letter? Well, the answer, surprisingly, is no. You don't absolutely need a cover letter. Millions of jobs are gotten every day, or not every day, but they're gotten without a cover letter. So you want to ask, do you want a cover letter? And when you want it, and that answer is yes, because that gives you a second opportunity to tell the employer how you are the best person for the job. In the book talks about the high impact cover letter, and it suggests 3 segments to a cover letter to accomplish the purpose of a cover letter. Okay. Catherine wants to know, since we're talking about resume, is it necessary to include a photo? No, you do not include a photo, usually, unless you're applying for something that where your appearance is important, like being a model or something like that. And then you'd use a little different. Any other stuff you should prepare aside from the resume? Well, that is the cover letter, probably, that you should prepare. And you should also be preparing yourself to talk to the employer once you do get the interview. Okay, any others? Thank you for answering my question. I learned so many things today. Oh, that's terrific. Yeah, I'm really glad that you did. Any others? What about a letter of intent? I'm not sure what you mean by a letter of intent. I suppose the cover letter basically covers that. I'm Marianne Chimera, and I'm the author of Take Charge of Your Career. We'll be talking again on Friday at 6 o'clock. That's February 2nd. And again, you can get the book at it probably toward the end of the month or shortly after at Reader's Magnet, at Barnes and Noble, or at Amazon. Okay. Thank you. Hope to see you again and hope you enjoyed. I hope that my book is helpful to you, and I'd like to hear from you if it is. Thank you.